Kadosh Erev Tov. This is Mishna Yomi. Masechet Bava Kamma, Perek Zayin, Perek Minuba, Mishna Aleph and Bet. Mishna Aleph starts off as follows. We were talking about now in this the rest of the Prakim, except for Perek Chet, we're going to speak about different laws of theft. We know that there's going to be a ganav, and the ganav is somebody that comes and he steals secretly. A gazlan, he does it openly. A ganav has to pay tashlum kefel. Tashlum kefel means he has to pay double back. Okay, but if he admits on his own, he doesn't have to pay double back. And if he's going to come and he's going to steal, if it's going to be a ox and a sheep, so therefore there would also be tashlumei Bava chamisha, which means 4 and 5 times. If he steals an ox and he slaughters it or sells it, he pays 5 times. If it's going to be a sheep, it's going to be 4 times. So the Mishnah starts off as saying as follows: Meruba midat tashlumei kefel, midat tashlumei Bava chamisha. The rule of double payment applies more than the rule of Bava chamisha, the 4 and the 5 times. Which means anything to do with kefel is on any type of an object. You stole a phone, you stole a camera, you stole a chair, you stole an ox, you stole anything, you're always going to pay back double. That is called kefel. So whether it's davar sheyesh baruch chaim or en baruch chaim, whether it's a living object or not. However, though, tashlumei Bava chamisha is only going to be b'shor v'seh. It's only going to be with sheep and an ox. Shneimar zeh b'zeh pasuk ki ignov ish shor oseh u'tvacho mecharov. A person is going to steal an ox or a sheep, he slaughters it and sells it. Another law, en haganav achar haganav meshalem tashlumei kefel. Kefel only applies from the original owner, not from a thief. So if somebody comes and he steals, and now you stole from him, you're never going to pay him back double, because he's not going to gain from that which he stole. So therefore, you only have to pay back kefel to the original owner, right? The same halacha would apply, that just like you don't pay kefel to a thief, you will never pay back 4 and 5 times to the thief. So imagine this guy comes and he steals, and then you stole from him and you slaughtered and sold it. You don't have to pay him 4 and 5 times. You only have to pay him the original amount, because again, the concept of kefel in Bava chamisha only applies to the original owner. It does not apply to anybody that came and he stole. Mishnah Bet. Ganav al pi shnayim v'tavach u'machar al pihem. Imagine right now you steal, right? Whether we're talking about an ox or a sheep, and you stole according to 2 witnesses, and you slaughtered and sold it al pihem, whether it's through them or other 2 witnesses. Meshalem tashlumei arba v'chamisha. You're still going to pay the 4 or 5 times. That means even though the witnesses who saw the sale or the slaughter did not see the theft, it doesn't matter. It's still valid. Meaning because they're only testifying on half of the concept, right? Because basically we know that usually testimony has to be on davar velo chetzi davar. That's a concept. However, the Mishnah is saying that although the second group of witnesses did not testify about the theft, right, but they're only testifying about the slaughtering or the selling, their testimony in itself is already a complete matter. It's a davar, because they testified about everything that could have been seen at that time, and therefore it's not considered only like of a half of the testimony. Because if not, you're going to say, listen, okay, chazak baruch, I slaughtered this animal, and therefore, no, you still need another 2 witnesses that said that you stole it, and then these 2 witnesses that you sold it or that you slaughtered it. So that, but it's still considered davar. Okay, he says ganav v'tavach b'Shabbat. If a person stole an ox or a sheep and he sold it on Shabbat, or ganav v'tavach u'machal avodah zarah, or he stole it and he sold it to avodah zarah, or he stole it and sold it, or he slaughtered it. Right? Again, here we're talking about always selling or slaughtering. He stole it and he slaughtered it on Yom Kippur. Ganav mishel aviv v'shel, right, u'machar, right, v'tavach u'machar v'achag met aviv. Imagine right now you stole it from the father and then he slaughtered it or sold it, and afterwards the father died. Ganav v'tavach v'achag dish, or he stole it and slaughtered it, right, and afterwards he consecrated it to the Beit HaMikdash. Meshalem tashlumei Bava chamisha. Here he does have to pay Bava chamisha. The reason why is because in all these cases he's not chayav mitah. Meaning, if somebody comes and he steals an animal, right, or he sells an animal, right, that's why it says here, ganav u'machar. It doesn't say slaughtering, because if he slaughtered it on Shabbat, he is chayav on Shabbat, and he would get sekilah. Then again, he wouldn't pay at all. Here, since he only sold it, the sold it is not an isur doraita that we're going to kill him for it. So therefore, he's going to be exempt from the killing, and therefore, even though he did it on Shabbat, he only has to pay 4 and 5 times. The same halacha is avodah zarah. He's not doing avodah zarah. He's selling it to avodah zarah. So it's lifnei velo to mishol. You're putting a stumbling block, but he himself is not actually doing anything to the avodah zarah. So again, he's not going to be killed, but he has to pay Bava chamisha. The same thing on Kippur. When a person says mechalel Kippur, there's never sekilah, there's never a mitab betin. It's only karet. He only gets cut off, but there's no mitab betin, and therefore, in such a case, he would have to pay and he doesn't get killed. The same halacha would apply if he steals from the father, then afterwards he comes and the father dies, right? Again, the same thing. Here he's obligated to pay, and after the father dies, he has to pay the heirs, right? Because, because he's one of the heirs, he keeps his portion, but he has to pay all the rest of them, right? And the same halacha would apply if he steals and he gives it to the Ekdesh and he consecrates it, right? The same halacha would apply. It becomes the property of the Ekdesh, and therefore the thief would have consecrated it first and then slaughtered it. He would be exempt from it, but right, because now it's not the owner's property. Okay, but in such a case, right, this is what's going on. Ganav v'davach l'refuah. What happens now if he steals it and he slaughters it for healing purposes, for refuah, not to eat it, healing purposes, or leklavim, or to feed it to the dogs? Or you slaughtered it and it became a trefa, meaning it was a trefa. It couldn't have been eating at all. Or you slaughtered it and it was in the azara, it was in the temple courtyard, which means that you're not allowed to eat it. You still have to pay the 4 and 5 times. That means even though the shechita was not done, was not fit to be eaten, right? Or the thief did not intend to eat the animal, it doesn't matter. It's a good act of shechita, and the fact that it's a good slaughtering, he still has to pay it back the 4 and 5 times. According to Shitat Rabbi Shimon, the last 2 cases are out of the 4 are going to be exempt. Why? Because according to him, if it doesn't permit the animal to be eaten, it's not called an act of shechita. So if you come, and therefore if it cannot be eaten, whether it's going to be because of shochechuli minazara, or it was found to be a trefa, so therefore it's going to be exempt.